The Galactic Council chamber was unlike anything a human mind could imagine on its own. It was a massive dome floating in the void of space, anchored to nothing, its walls shimmering with energy fields that displayed entire star systems in real time. Creatures of every size and shape filled the grand tiers of seats: scaled diplomats from the Dravon Empire, crystalline beings from the Shard Collective, winged envoys from the Era Swarm. Together, they represented thousands of civilizations across the galaxy, and standing alone in the center of the chamber, beneath a beam of silver light, was a single human. Ambassador Elias Grant stood tall, though he was aware of the countless eyes upon him. He was not a soldier, not a warrior in armor, but a diplomat in a dark blue suit. Yet he carried himself with the confidence of a man who knew he represented billions. His voice, steady and calm, echoed through the chamber as he spoke into the translator systems that rendered his words into hundreds of alien languages. "Members of the Council," Elias said, his hands clasped behind his back. "Humanity has come far in a short time. We discovered the stars less than 2 centuries ago, and yet we have stood beside many of you in trade, in science, and even in war against the threats that endanger us all. We ask for only one thing: a permanent seat among you so that our voice may help shape the future of this galaxy." There was a ripple of murmurs across the chamber. Some delegates nodded in approval. Others narrowed their alien eyes or hissed in distaste. Humanity's rise had been swift, and not all were comfortable with it. The representative of the Zaith Dominion, a tall insectoid creature with gleaming black carapace, clicked his mandibles in irritation. "Humans," he rasped, "speak of cooperation, yet everywhere they go they spread like fire. They trade in weapons, they colonize, they invent technologies that upset the balance. Give them a seat and soon they will claim leadership over us all." Elias did not flinch. He had expected resistance. He raised his voice, calm but firm. "Earth has never sought to rule over others. When the Rylak fleets invaded the Helion sectors, who stood with you to defend them? When plague threatened the Uran colonies, whose medical ships brought aid? Humanity does not seek dominance. We seek partnership. We seek peace." The chamber grew louder, some species applauding, others jeering. The council speaker, a towering being of pure energy wrapped in containment fields, raised a glowing hand to silence the noise. "The vote shall be called," the speaker intoned. "But first let the envoy finish his statement." Elias inhaled deeply. He knew his words might decide Earth's future in this galaxy. "Peace," he said slowly, "is not born of fear or control. It is born of respect. Earth will continue to respect this council and its laws. But do not mistake our courtesy for weakness. Humanity has endured wars, plagues, and trials that would have destroyed lesser species. We do not ask for fear. We ask for recognition." The words hung in the air, quiet but heavy. Yet in the shadows of the chamber, a plot was already in motion. A group of council members, those most threatened by humanity's growth, had gathered days earlier in secrecy. They whispered of Earth's dangerous potential, of how quickly humans adapted, of how fearlessly they expanded. They had decided that words were no longer enough. "The humans must be given an example," one of them had hissed. "If we show the galaxy that even Earth can be humbled, the others will not follow them." So a plan had been set: provoke, accuse, and eliminate. As Elias finished his address, an alien delegate, a member of the Krovak clans, notorious for their hatred of humans, suddenly stood. He slammed a clawed hand on his podium. "Lies!" he roared. "This human speaks of peace, yet even now their fleets encroach on neutral sectors. They prepare for war while smiling in our faces." "That is false," Elias replied calmly, though his heart pounded. "Earth has honored every treaty." The Krovak pointed an accusing claw at him. "I demand immediate judgment." "This envoy speaks not of peace, but of conquest." More voices rose, shouting over each other. Some supported Elias, others demanded his removal. The chamber descended into chaos. Then the speaker's voice boomed. "Order! The council shall decide now." A vote was called, not on humanity's membership, but on whether Elias Grant was guilty of threatening the council's order. Elias felt a chill run through him. This was not procedure. This was not diplomacy. This was a trap. The votes came swiftly, symbols flashing across the chamber walls. Species after species cast their decision. Many abstained, unwilling to provoke Earth. But enough. Far too many voted guilty. The speaker raised a glowing hand. "The decision is final. The human envoy is found guilty of subversion. Elias raised his voice, desperate now. You know this is false. You condemn not just me, but the very idea of peace. Before he could finish, energy beams shot down from the ceiling. The chamber filled with a blinding light. When it faded, Elias Grant was gone. Across the galaxy, billions watched in silence. The execution had been broadcast live, meant as a show of power. Some alien citizens gasped in horror. Others cheered, believing humanity had been humbled. On Earth, the transmission ended with the silver beam of light cutting Elias from existence. For a long moment, no one spoke. No one moved. Families sat frozen in their homes. Soldiers in orbital stations stared at their screens. Leaders in the great halls of government lowered their heads. Then, slowly, the shock turned into something else. Not rage, not panic. Something colder. In Geneva, deep beneath the Earth's surface, the world leaders gathered in a secure chamber that had been used only twice before in history. A great round table stood in the center, surrounded by screens showing the faces of commanders from Luna, Mars, and the far colonies. The President of Earth entered, carrying the weight of silence. She did not raise her voice. She did not weep. She simply placed her hands on the table and spoke. They have executed our envoy. The room remained still. They believe this will frighten us. They believe we will back down. She paused, her eyes scanning the room. Every leader, every commander sat in silence waiting. Then let them learn. Initiate protocol, Aegis Annihilation. A quiet murmur spread. The words were heavy, remembered from training manuals and secret briefings. For centuries, Earth had prepared for the possibility that the galaxy might one day turn against them. Protocol Aegis was no myth. It was real. Across the colonies, signals were sent. Hidden facilities deep within asteroids powered up. Massive hangars buried beneath Mars opened, revealing fleets that had never been seen by alien eyes. On Earth's moon, nanoforges shifted to maximum output, producing weapons beyond the Council's understanding. The people of Earth did not panic. They did not riot. They simply watched the stars and waited. Every man, woman, and child knew that humanity's patience had ended. Back in the Council chamber, as delegates congratulated themselves for sending a message, a single alien envoy from the Helion Accord slipped away. He sent a private transmission to his government, his hands trembling. You must understand, he whispered. The humans will not forget this. They are not like us. They do not wail or beg when struck. They grow quiet. They grow focused. And then they strike. We have awakened something we cannot control. His words went unheard by most. But across the galaxy, the silence of Earth spoke louder than any declaration of war. The night sky above Earth was clear. Billions of stars sparkled, each a reminder of the vast galaxy beyond. To ordinary people, those stars had always represented mystery, opportunity, and hope. But now, after the execution of Ambassador Elias Grant, they looked different. They were no longer distant lights of wonder. They were a battlefield waiting to happen. Across cities, villages, and colonies, humanity watched in silence. No shouts of anger filled the streets. No mobs stormed the capitals. There was no chaos. Instead, the world fell into a strange, steady calm. Every human, farmer, worker, scientist, soldier, understood what had just been done to them. The galaxy had humiliated Earth, and Earth would answer. In the secure chambers beneath Geneva, the President sat with her council of leaders. The air was thick, heavy with unspoken thoughts. No one doubted what was coming. General Armin Keller, head of Earth's Defense Command, spoke first. His voice was deep, measured. Madam President, the fleets are on standby. Hidden reserves are intact. We only need your final authorization. The President leaned forward. Her hands were folded, her eyes sharp. The authorization has already been given. Protocol. Aegis Annihilation is active. This council is not to speak of peace with the aliens until Earth has been avenged. Some of the leaders shifted uncomfortably. Chancellor Imani from the African Union spoke with care. The people will demand justice, yes, but they will also fear the path we walk. Should we not first release a statement to reassure them? The President shook her head. The people already know. You've seen their silence. That silence is not fear. It is resolve. And she was right. Across Earth, families prepared not with dread but with quiet determination. Young students whispered about joining the defense forces. Engineers volunteered for shifts in orbital shipyards. Retired veterans polished old medals and prepared to serve again. Humanity did not crumble. Humanity sharpened itself. Far away on Luna, beneath layers of gray dust, hidden bunkers began to hum with life. Massive machines, silent for decades, roared awake. Nanoforges capable of building entire warships piece by piece shifted their programs to full-scale production. Energy cells the size of skyscrapers powered up, glowing with blue light. Colonel Reyes, commander of the Lunar Operations Center, walked through the endless hangar halls. She saw row after row of human warships, their sleek black hulls gleaming under the lights. They had been hidden from the galaxy, disguised as research platforms and mining rigs, but now their true purpose was revealed. "Status report," Reyes demanded. 72 dreadnoughts are active, her officer replied. "More are coming online by the hour. Fighters are launching test flights. Weapon arrays are functional." Reyes nodded slowly. She looked through a massive viewport, watching as the first squadron of stealth ships lifted into the void. For years, humanity had smiled at the galaxy, showing them only merchant ships and exploratory craft. The truth had been hidden here, in the silence of the moon. And now the truth was awake. On Mars, the red sands trembled as underground silos opened. Out of them rose weapons of terrifying design. Orbital disruptors, kinetic rods capable of leveling cities from orbit, and projectors that bent space itself. The Martian colonists, hardened by generations of survival on the harsh planet, cheered quietly as the weapons emerged. A young boy asked his father, "Will the aliens come here?" His father placed a hand on his shoulder and looked him in the eyes. "If they do, son, they'll find out what Mars does to intruders." The boy smiled. There was no fear in him, only pride. Meanwhile, the outer colonies prepared in their own ways. On Titan, Saturn's icy moon, submarine shipyards produced massive carriers beneath frozen seas. On Europa, laboratories tested new energy shields designed to absorb alien plasma fire. Even the mining colonies in the asteroid belt retooled their drills into railgun platforms. It was as if the entire human race, scattered across planets and moons, had become a single machine. A machine of war, but not all species in the galaxy celebrated the Council's decision. On the planet Helion, Envoy Sale paced nervously inside his chambers. He had seen the execution, and unlike many others, he understood the weight of Earth's silence. He recorded a message to his government, his voice low and urgent. "You must understand. The humans are not like us. We think of honor in terms of words, in terms of gestures. They think of honor in terms of survival. They do not rage when wounded, they prepare. They do not collapse under insult, they remember. I tell you this, the Council has not silenced Earth. It has awakened it." His message was sent, but he knew it was already too late. Back on Earth, the President addressed her commanders once more. "Phase 1 is preparation. No strikes yet. We gather, we position, we make ready. Phase 2 will be our first demonstration. The galaxy will see what happens when humanity is crossed." General Keller nodded. "Understood. Shall we begin moving the fleets into position?" "Yes," the President said. Her voice was steady, cold. "Begin the silence." And so the silence began. Across the galaxy, alien observers noted strange disappearances. Human merchant ships vanished from trade routes. Mining convoys stopped delivering resources. Communication traffic from Earth dwindled. It was as if the humans had withdrawn into themselves. Some species laughed. "They are cowed," they said. "They have been broken." But a few remembered the look in Elias Grant's eyes before he was executed. Calm, steady, defiant, and they felt a chill. In the dark void near Neptune, a secret fleet tested its weapons. Human scientists stood beside soldiers as energy beams carved through asteroids with surgical precision. Massive cannons fired projectiles faster than light, shattering targets across millions of kilometers. Warp engines folded space like paper, moving ships across distances in moments. Captain Adriana Holt, commander of the fleet, watched the tests with satisfaction. "Perfect," she said softly. "When the time comes, they won't even see us coming." Her second-in-command frowned. "Do you think the galaxy will understand what they've done?" Holt's eyes were cold. "They will. Right before the end." But it wasn't just weapons that humanity prepared. Intelligence agencies began moving as well. Hidden satellites intercepted Council communications. Encryption was broken. Plans were stolen. Within weeks, Earth knew more about the Council's defenses than the Council knew itself. Director Mason of Earth Intelligence reported to the president with grim pride. We have access to their fleet locations, their supply lines, even the vulnerabilities of their capital systems. When we will strike where it hurts most. The president gave a single nod. Good, let them think we are silent. Let them think we are weak. And when the storm comes, they will understand the price of arrogance. In the streets of Earth cities, people went about their days in eerie calm. Shops were open, schools were full, factories hummed. But beneath the surface, everything was different. Young volunteers signed up for service in record numbers. Factories shifted from civilian production to weapons manufacturing. Even artists painted murals of Elias Grant, his face calm and proud, a symbol of human dignity. No riots, no chaos. Just a quiet unity that spread like fire across the species. And in the quiet of her private quarters, the president looked out at the stars. She thought of Elias Grant, the man who had believed so strongly in peace, who had given his life to words, not weapons. She whispered softly, almost as a promise. They thought they silenced you, Elias, but your voice is louder now than ever. The galaxy will hear it in every strike we make. The stars shone back at her, silent witnesses. The silence before the storm had begun, and the storm would be unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The galaxy had grown comfortable in its belief that humanity was silent. Weeks had passed since the execution of Ambassador Elias Grant, and the Council whispered proudly of its power. Alien leaders told their citizens that Earth had bowed its head, but Earth was not bowing. Earth was sharpening. High above Mars, in the black of space, the human fleet gathered in silence. Hundreds of warships, their hulls dark and sleek, floated like shadows against the stars. They carried no banners, no signals. To outside eyes, they did not even exist. Inside the flagship Eidolon, Captain Adriana Holt stood on the command bridge. Her eyes were fixed on the projection before her, a massive display of the galaxy, with red markers flashing across Council-controlled sectors. General Armin Keller's voice filled the room from a secure transmission. Captain Holt, the President has confirmed Phase 2. You are authorized to begin the first strike. Holt gave a single nod. Her officers stood silently, waiting for her order. She let the moment stretch, feeling the weight of it. Humanity had been silent long enough. Her voice was calm, almost quiet. Engage. Strike the strongholds. The first target was the Valara outpost, a heavily armed fortress orbiting a Council supply world. For centuries it had been considered unbreakable, its walls reinforced with energy shields, its fleets always on guard, but against the human fleet, the fortress never stood a chance. The Eidolon dropped out of folded space with a whisper of energy. Within seconds, dreadnoughts and cruisers appeared all around the outpost, each ship positioned with perfect precision. The Council guards barely had time to raise alarms. Fire, Captain Holt commanded. Human weapons lit up the void. Railguns fired projectiles faster than light itself, tearing through shields as if they were mist. Space-bending cannons warped the battlefield, shattering enemy formations. Fighter wings, sleek and agile, swarmed across the outpost's defenses, disabling turrets and control towers in minutes. The alien commander of Valara outpost screamed into the comms, "Impossible! Their weapons, our shields, are useless." The last words were drowned out as a human projectile slammed into the fortress, ripping it apart in a brilliant flash. The entire battle lasted less than 20 minutes. Valara outpost, the Council's pride, was gone. The second strike came only hours later. At the Reimer sector, a Council fleet of 70 warships patrolled in confidence. They were considered the best of the Council's military, led by Admiral Rex of the Zaith Dominion. Rex had voted for Elias Grant's execution. He believed humans were weak, too fragile for real power. But when the humans came, he realized the truth too late. The Eidolon and its fleet emerged from folded space right in the center of the Council formation. No warnings, no negotiations. The humans attacked with flawless coordination. Alien ships fired desperately, plasma beams scorching the void. But human countermeasures bent the beams away, scattering them harmlessly. Railguns punched through alien cruisers one after another. Human fighters tore into capital ships, cutting their engines, leaving them helpless. Admiral Rex shouted orders, his mandibles clicking in rage. "Hold formation! Surround them!" But there was nothing to surround. The humans moved faster than thought. One moment they were in front of his fleet, the next they were behind it, warping space itself to appear wherever they wished. In less than an hour, the Council's greatest fleet was dust and silence. Admiral Rex's flagship burned, drifting powerless. And through the smoke of his ruined bridge, Rex saw something he would never forget. Human soldiers boarding his ship, calm and efficient, moving with the precision of inevitability. They did not gloat. They did not rage. They simply did their duty. Back on Earth, the news spread like fire. Families gathered around screens watching the quiet reports. Valara outpost destroyed. Council fleet defeated. The people of Earth did not cheer wildly. They nodded. They whispered the same words again and again. Justice for Elias. Murals of Elias Grant grew larger in cities. His calm face looked out over streets and squares, a reminder that his death had not been in vain. Children learned his final speech in schools. Soldiers painted his name on their ships. Humanity was not striking for revenge. Humanity was striking for justice. The council, meanwhile, was in panic. Inside the chamber, delegates shouted over one another, their voices full of fear. Reports poured in from every sector. Fortresses destroyed, fleets annihilated, supply lines cut. The humans were everywhere at once, their fleets striking faster than anyone could respond. "This is impossible," shouted one delegate. "They should not have this power." "They hid it," another whispered, trembling. "They hid it all along." The council speaker raised his glowing hand, but even his booming voice could not calm the chamber. Every delegate knew the truth. The humans were not only powerful, they were unstoppable. A nervous aide leaned close to his commander and whispered words that would soon spread like wildfire. "They fight with mathematics." They knew this war before it began. On Helion, Envoy Sael once again spoke to his leaders. His voice was grim. "You see now what I warned you of. The humans did not rage when you killed their envoy. They planned. They prepared. They calculated our every move. We thought we silenced them, but we only gave them reason to act." His leader asked quietly, "Can they be reasoned with now?" Sael shook his head. "Not reasoned with. Only respected. The human fleets did not strike blindly. Every target was chosen with care. They avoided civilian worlds, striking only military strongholds, shipyards, and supply depots. To the galaxy, this was terrifying. It was not the war of a reckless species. It was the war of a species that fought with precision, as if every step had been written long ago. On the mining world of Jaro, human troops landed silently. The council soldiers who resisted were disarmed in minutes. But the civilians were untouched, their cities unharmed. Instead, human commanders broadcast a simple message. "We come not for you. We come for justice. Stand aside and you will not be harmed." The message spread faster than any propaganda. On world after world, alien citizens realized something incredible. The humans were not conquerors. They were avengers, and many began to wonder. Perhaps the humans were not their enemies at all. In the command chamber of the Eidolon, Captain Holt stood in silence as another report came in. A second fortress had fallen. A third fleet had been scattered. Her officers looked to her, waiting for celebration. But Holt only gave a single nod. "Mark the victory. Prepare for the next." Her second-in-command finally spoke. "Captain, do you think they understand now? Do they realize what they've done?" Holt turned, her face calm, her eyes cold. "They understand nothing yet, but they will. This is only the first strike." And so it continued. The galaxy trembled as the humans moved with unstoppable precision. Fleets burned. Fortresses crumbled. The council shouted and raged, but their power fell apart with every passing day. In the silence between battles, humanity's voice echoed, not in speeches, but in action. The message was clear: you killed our envoy. You silenced peace. Now we will show you the cost of arrogance. The storm had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The galaxy was no longer the same place it had been only weeks before. The execution of a single human envoy had seemed, to the Galactic Council, like a display of power. But that act had been the stone that cracked the dam. Now the waters had burst forth, and every star system felt the flood. Human fleets moved like shadows across the stars. They appeared without warning, struck with terrifying precision, and vanished before the Council could respond. Entire sectors that had once been under the Council's control now hung silent and defenseless. On the desert world of Karthos, the sky burned as human warships descended. Council soldiers manned their stations, desperate to hold their ground. But the humans did not come with endless fire. They struck only at the command centers, the shield generators, the weapon silos. Within minutes, the defenses were gone, but the city stood untouched. Commander Lyra of the human fleet opened a channel to the alien civilians. Her voice was steady, clear, and calm. "We are not here for you. You are not our enemies. Step aside and no harm will come to you. The Council betrayed peace. Not you." The people of Karthos, who had expected death and ruin, looked to the skies in awe. They watched as human ships left their world unbroken, moving onward to their next target. And across the galaxy, whispers began. The humans do not destroy us. The humans do not conquer. They fight with justice. In the chambers of the Galactic Council, fear had replaced arrogance. The once proud delegates shouted over one another, their voices filled with panic. "Valara is gone," cried one. "The Rimmer fleet destroyed," shouted another. "Our supply routes are collapsing. Our colonies refuse to obey." The speaker, once calm and commanding, struggled to maintain order. His voice boomed across the chamber, but even he could not hide his unease. "We must restore control. We must strike back at Earth with everything we have." But a delegate from the Shard Collective, her crystalline body glowing dimly, interrupted him. "And where will we strike? They are everywhere. They are nowhere. Their fleets appear in dozens of systems at once. Our ships cannot even find them before they are destroyed." The chamber fell into a heavy silence. For the first time in centuries, the Council realized it was no longer the one in control. Back on Earth, the people followed the war with quiet pride. Screens across cities and colonies showed calm reports of victories. Maps of the galaxy lit up with growing regions marked in blue, territory where the Council no longer held sway. Yet the people did not cheer with wild joy. Their resolve was deeper than that. Children walked to school past murals of Elias Grant, painted larger and brighter each day. Workers in the factories labored longer hours producing weapons, ships, and supplies, their faces calm and focused. Everywhere the same words were spoken. They executed our envoy. Now they will learn. On the far world of Vena, a council commander named Torvak faced the human fleet with terror in his heart. He had heard the stories, but he had not believed them. Now, as he watched human ships dismantle his defenses with surgical strikes, he realized the truth. When his fortress finally fell silent, human soldiers boarded. They were efficient, calm, unshaken by the chaos around them. Torvak expected them to mock him, to rage, to kill without mercy, but instead their commander simply looked at him and spoke. "Stand down. This is not your war. It is the Council's war. Do not throw away your life for their arrogance." Torvak surrendered. And when word spread that even commanders were spared if they yielded, more worlds chose to lay down arms rather than fight. The galaxy trembled, not only in fear of human weapons, but in awe of human restraint. Envoy Sale of the Helion Accord watched the news in silence. His predictions had come true. The humans were not wild beasts seeking revenge. They were something far more dangerous. They were patient, disciplined, and utterly determined. He sent another message to his leaders. The humans are not trying to conquer the galaxy. They are reshaping it. They show mercy to those who yield, and yet they strike with unmatched precision at those who resist. They are not fighting for territory. They are fighting for respect, and they are winning. His words echoed through the Helion government. Many of them began to wonder. Should they continue to stand with the Council, or should they prepare to stand with Earth? The Council grew desperate. Admiral Tavor, one of their most decorated military leaders, begged the chamber for resources. "Give me 300 ships," he said, his voice trembling with urgency. "I will trap the humans. I will strike at them where they least expect it." His request was granted. Fleets were gathered, resources drained from already weakening sectors. The Council believed they would finally crush humanity in one decisive battle. But when Admiral Tavor's fleet met the humans, the battle did not go as he expected. The humans had already known his plans. Somehow, impossibly, they had intercepted his communications before he even left his base. They lured him into a trap of their own making, surrounding his ships with folded space maneuvers that the Council had never even imagined. In hours, his 300 ships were reduced to floating wreckage. Tavor's last broadcast, filled with disbelief and despair, spread across the galaxy. They knew, every move we would make, we never stood a chance. The galaxy trembled again. But this time the fear was joined by something else. admiration. Ordinary aliens, citizens of the Council's worlds, began to see Earth not as a monster, but as a symbol. For centuries, the Council had ruled through arrogance, punishing dissent, controlling weaker races. Now the humans were showing another way, one built not on fear, but on justice. Protests erupted across Council planets. Citizens marched through streets carrying signs in alien languages that translated to the same words. We stand with Earth. The Council, once united in power, now faced rebellion from within. On the flagship Eidolon, Captain Adriana Holt stood before her officers reviewing the latest reports. Her second-in-command spoke quietly. World after world is surrendering without a fight. Some are even asking us to protect them from the Council. Holt nodded. Then we protect them. We did not ask for this war, but we will not abandon those who turn to us. Her officers looked at her with awe. The galaxy had feared humans as destroyers. But in that moment, she showed them something else, that humans could also be guardians. In Geneva, the president received daily reports from across the stars. She sat with her council, her face calm, her voice firm. The galaxy trembles, she said. But it must not tremble in fear of us. It must tremble in awe of what we stand for. Elias Grant believed in peace. Let us carry his vision even in war. Her words carried across the command chambers. Generals and admirals bowed their heads in agreement. And so humanity fought not as conquerors, but as judges. Their war was not to burn the galaxy, but to reshape it. Yet still the Council clung to power. In their desperation, they whispered of darker weapons, ancient machines hidden in forbidden systems. They spoke of sacrifices, of desperate alliances. The humans had shown mercy, but the Council was not ready to surrender. The storm was not yet over. It was only growing. And as the stars themselves seemed to tremble under the weight of war, the galaxy waited for what humanity would do next. Would they stop after justice was served, or would their fire consume everything? The answer would come soon. For now, the galaxy trembled, balanced between fear and hope. And all eyes turned to Earth. The final frontier of the galaxy was quiet. The void stretched endlessly, dotted with stars that glimmered like distant fires. But in that quiet, an unstoppable force moved with precision. Humanity. The fleets that had once been hidden among asteroids, moons, and planets now converged above the Galactic Council's homeworld. Thousands of human ships, each one a marvel of engineering and power, formed a ring around the planet. Their hulls reflected starlight like dark jewels, their weapons silent but ready. On the command bridge of the flagship Eidolon, Captain Adriana Holt stood at the center, her posture calm, her eyes fixed on the holographic display of the Council's world below. General Armin Keller, Earth's chief strategist, spoke behind her. Madam Captain, this is the culmination. Every fleet is in position. The Council has nowhere left to hide. We can strike and it will be decisive. Holt turned, her face composed. We do not strike to destroy. We strike to deliver a message. Humanity does not seek conquest. We seek justice, clarity, and respect. The galaxy must hear this before anything else. Her officers nodded. In all of humanity's preparations, they had never lost the principle that distinguished them from the galaxy they now faced. They fought with honor. On the Council's homeworld, panic had reached its peak. Reports from the outer sectors confirmed the devastation. Fortresses demolished, fleets annihilated, loyal planets surrendering. Council Speaker Vaynar's voice boomed through the chamber, trembling with authority that was no longer absolute. We must resist! Earth cannot be allowed to dominate us. A young delegate from the Helion Accord spoke quietly, almost to himself. They do not dominate. They demand justice, and yet we have no idea what that truly means. Vaynar waved his glowing hand. Prepare every weapon. Deploy every ship! We will show Earth they cannot challenge the Council. But the humans were already waiting. Without warning, the human fleet activated their communication array. A single message, simple and clear, echoed across the stars. Every Council-controlled world received it simultaneously. The President of Earth's voice filled every speaker, her tone calm, firm, yet powerful. You executed our envoy. You silenced peace. You destroyed trust. We do not strike for vengeance, and we do not strike for conquest. We strike to ensure no voice for peace is ever silenced again. She paused, letting the words sink in across every species, every system. Council of the Galaxy, you have failed. The old order ends today. Earth does not seek to rule, but it will protect what is right. We offer peace to those who yield, and warning to those who resist. This is our final message. The message left the council in stunned silence. No one spoke. No one moved. For the first time in millennia, the council was not the one in control. Humanity, once underestimated, now commanded the eyes of the galaxy. Captain Holt and her officers watched as the council's fleet scrambled, attempting to respond. But the humans had anticipated every move. Warships that had been considered untouchable were disabled before they could fire. Communication channels collapsed under precise electronic disruption. Supply routes vanished. It was not chaos. It was order, delivered with absolute efficiency. On a bridge deep within the Council's command center, Admiral Rex, once proud of his Zaith Dominion fleets, watched helplessly. His fingers hovered over controls, but he knew it was too late. He leaned back in disbelief. They prepared for everything. How could we have underestimated them? Sael, the Helian envoy, who had once tried to warn others of humanity's true nature, stood silently behind him. His face reflected both fear and awe. "They are not just warriors," he whispered. "They are the guardians of their own justice." And now they guarded across the galaxy. On the Council's homeworld, human fleets did not fire a single shot. Their presence alone was enough. Entire cities trembled under the awareness that the humans could strike instantly, anywhere, anytime. The sheer scale of their preparation, the intelligence and the coordination left every alien species in awe. Yet humanity offered mercy. Planets that submitted peacefully were spared. Civilian populations were left untouched. The message was clear. Resistance was dangerous, but surrender offered protection. In one city, alien children looked up at human ships hovering above and whispered among themselves, "Why do they not destroy us?" "They fight for justice, not for hatred," an elder replied. Back on the Eidolon, Captain Holt received a transmission from Earth itself. The President's voice resonated across the ship. "Phase final is in motion. We have shown the galaxy our power. Now we will ensure that no peacekeeper is ever silenced again. Maintain vigilance, but do not strike unless provoked. Humanity will not be the aggressor. Humanity will be the balance." Holt acknowledged the order. She turned to her crew. "We have shown restraint where others expected wrath. That restraint is our strength. The galaxy will never forget today." The officers bowed, their eyes filled with pride. Meanwhile, in secret, alien species that had once supported the Council began sending messages to Earth. They acknowledged their fear, their mistakes, and their respect. Plans were made for alliances. Trade routes were offered. Technology was shared. They recognized that the humans were not conquerors, but a force that demanded fairness and respect. Envoy Sael wrote again to his government, "Humanity does not strike for greed or glory. They strike for justice. We must reconsider our loyalties, for the future of the galaxy now rests with Earth's guidance." On Earth, citizens gathered in squares and homes to watch the final transmissions. Families held hands as screens displayed calm reports from every front. Ships moved across the galaxy with precision, a living testament to human ingenuity. Yet there was no arrogance in the reporting, no celebration of bloodshed. There was pride, but above all, clarity. Humanity had acted not out of rage, but out of principle. Children studied Elias Grant's speeches in schools, but now they also learned how humanity had protected life while striking down injustice. Soldiers trained in martial skills, engineers in starship design, and citizens in vigilance. Humanity was no longer merely a species. It was a standard. For the Council, the consequences were clear. Their homeworld was surrounded, their fleets shattered, their colonies wavering, and yet humanity offered a choice: submit and survive, resist and face certain defeat. The speaker, Vanar, finally spoke to the chamber. His energy field flickered with anxiety. We underestimated them. Earth is not like us. They are patient, calculated, unstoppable." A murmur spread through the chamber. Some delegates whispered of rebellion against the Council. Others began to prepare surrender. For the first time, the Council understood that power was no longer determined by titles or votes. It was determined by principle, preparation, and honor. Captain Holt received reports of surrendering fleets. Alien civilians cheered cautiously as human ships ensured their safety. Messages of peace and protection spread faster than any previous broadcasts. Humanity was showing the galaxy that strength and mercy could coexist. In the quiet of space, Holt allowed herself a moment to look at the stars. She thought of Elias Grant and the countless generations that had prepared Earth for this moment. Humanity had endured mockery, threats, and hostility, and now through strategy, patience, and honor, they had rewritten the rules of the galaxy. She whispered softly, almost as a promise. The galaxy will remember. They executed our envoy. They silenced peace, and we responded with clarity, not chaos. Humanity will never bow again. On Earth, in the President's chamber, the final message was sent. It was not a threat nor a boast. It was a declaration of principle. You executed our envoy. You destroyed trust. You believed we would bow. You were wrong. Humanity does not act out of fear, and we do not act out of anger. We act out of justice. The old council is dissolved. The galaxy will have a new order, one where no voice for peace is silenced again. Remember this day, for humanity will never forget, and the galaxy will never be the same. The galaxy trembled, not in fear alone, but in awe. Alien citizens, leaders, and even dissenters all paused to consider the message. Humanity had shown that courtesy was not weakness, restraint was not fear, and patience was not impotence. And as the human fleet slowly withdrew from the council homeworld, leaving their ships in orbit as a reminder, the galaxy realized a truth it could not ignore. Humanity had arrived. Humanity had endured, and humanity had taken its place among the stars, not through domination, but through principle. The stars seemed brighter that night, as though the galaxy itself had acknowledged the power of a species that fought for justice, not vengeance, for peace, not fear. And across every world the same thought spread quietly yet powerfully. Never again underestimate humanity.